There once were two guys living in China, and they discovered that they did not like vagina. Now they're having butt sex with each other. And this podcast is an excuse for their affair. Two guys, one China. Check it out.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Two Guys,
One China.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jagger Willoughby.
As you can tell, we're very new to this. So today, for the first episode, what we thought of is that we're just gonna ask each other questions about China, because the podcast is going to be about living in China, all the aspects of being an expat in China. And so what we want to do is ask each other questions. You guys can get to know us. In the future, the plan is that we want to get people of all ages. If there's a 50-year-old woman who's had experiences in China, we want to bring her on and hear her experiences, because maybe you're a 50-year-old woman listening to this. The only person that's 50-year-old woman that'll be listening to this, probably my mum. But that's basically what we're going to do today. So do you want to start with the first question straight away?
Well, first thing I want to say this. Yeah, this is going to be some broad questions.
Mm-hmm.
Very broad. I think we both had broad questions. But yeah, you can go first. Let's get started.
So this is obviously...
I think I have the same first question as you do, though.
Okay, so this is obviously starting to a very exciting time. Very exciting. So, first question, Jagger. Why did you come to China?
If you can rewind 15 seconds in the podcast, I just said I think we have similar questions, and mine's the same, but when we get started, well, it's 2020 in March. In April 2019...
It's St. Patrick's Day, so
St.
here you
Patrick's
go.
Day.
Chin, 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 chin. You're drinking a Guinness, I'm drinking
Guinness.
Harbin, Chinese beer.
So, April 2019, I was working at Verizon, a job in the United States, and my friend was teaching English in China.
Mm-hmm.
He had been here for like 6-7 months. So, me and my friends from high school were all pretty close. And he said, y'all should come. We said, fuck yeah, we're going to come. So, I applied for all the visas. Essentially, I came to China. We landed in Shanghai, went to Wuhan, and then Beijing.
Do you want to tell people about your time in Shanghai and Wuhan?
Yeah, so in Shanghai, it was pretty fun.
What'd you get up to?
We got super drunk, explored. We went to Wuhan. Wuhan is way less touristy. So that was one of my favorite experiences.
I think people are familiar with Wuhan at the moment.
Yeah, currently you're off from Wuhan, but yeah, I was there last year, a year ago, not recently.
Yeah.
And then Beijing was very fun as well. But it was a very fun trip. Even my friend Isaac, who lives here in Shenzhen, which is where we both currently are.
Sorry,
Me
you should
and
have said
Daniel,
that.
we're in Shenzhen, China, southern China, close to Hong Kong. It was a very fun trip. And like on the way back home, usually my flights returning are usually pretty chill because I don't have anxiety. Like when I'm usually on the way to visit somewhere, I have anxiety on the plane or the train because I want to be there. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But on the way back, I had anxiety. And I was like, I don't want to return to my life. Then I got back. I started looking at jobs.
So let me ask you, so why on that trip, what made you not want to return? What about your trip made you not want to return?
I don't think it's not that I wanted to return. It's just that I didn't want to go back to my normal life that I was living.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? Fuck this.
So you were working at this place. What were you doing for work? Like, what was your job?
So I worked at Verizon, which is a telecommunications company, but I'm not sure what it's like in Europe or the UK, but United States, it's a pretty good job.
What do you do? Sorry, what do you do?
So I sold service and cell phones. But
like on the phone or in the shop?
In the shop. So you would go to the store, and I would work with businesses and retail consumers. I would sell them phones, accessories, and service. But
I can imagine that. By the way, you guys can't see this, but he has very like slick back hair, and I can now see it. I'm like, yeah. You wear a suit?
No.
You didn't wear a suit? Casual?
Yeah, very casual.
So you had like one button undone your shirt, or?
No, we wore t-shirts.
You wore t-shirts?
Yeah. And then
any t-shirt you want, or
no, it's
the company?
Company logo.
Okay.
But
what was the logo?
Checkmark.
Oh, so
yeah,
it was,
Verizon
it
is
was
Checkmark.
Nike.
It's funny because,
It worked for Nike.
by the way, Daniel's from the UK. Anyone from the United States, you already know what Verizon is. So,
Oh, okay, yeah.
right.
Oh, we should have said that. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I'm from England. I'm from a town called Reading, and obviously he's where are you from? You're Australian, right?
Fuck you. I'm from a small town in Alabama. You might can tell from my accent. But Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile have a conglomerate
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, so they're really cell phone service is expensive. For one person unlimited, it's like $60, $70, $80,
Mm-hmm.
which is, a lot of RMB. Here in China, I have unlimited data for like 100 kwai, which is like $11, $12, $13 in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, what is that, 70% less money?
Yeah. So cheaper.
So it was a pretty good job. Could have been worse, but I was just like, I want to do something else. Like, I've never really traveled my whole life. My family never traveled. I was just there. I came here. Actually, it's funny because my passport would have no other stamps but United States and China.
Mm.
Right? At the time.
Mhm.
And I would,
They're best friends.
yeah, they're very close. We know each other, like, very well. Then I started applying for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job, same city as my friend in Shenzhen.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months later, I'm here.
So when you got your job, you wanted to work with your friend, right? You wanted to come to Shenzhen, or was it just?
Okay, so I was in contact with my friend. Obviously, he was one of my best friends, and he was like, "I'm going to the city. It's called Shenzhen. It's hot. There's a lot of good weather. A lot of younger people. It's a newer city. It's cooler than Wuhan."
Oh,
Nice.
so just for like the listeners, like I think Shenzhen is like a really young city, right? It's only been around for 30 years. or
So
something
I may
like
be
that.
mistaken, but Shenzhen and Dubai are the two youngest cities in the world.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
And I think the thing about Shenzhen is all the young people have come here, so it's got a lot of a sort of young people vibe. Like most people are basically mid to late 20s.
yes, Shenzhen is very young. During the Chinese holidays, the Chinese New Year, the end of January, it's kind of like the Christmas for us back home in the UK and United States. So everyone goes home. And I wasn't here this past Chinese New Year, but apparently it's a ghost town
Yeah.
because everyone that's here is almost like a
So no one's
national-
originally from Shenzhen,
I
right?
don't know the word, maybe a national immigrant.
Yeah.
They're not immigrating from another country. They're just traveling from other
Yeah.
cities to here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I work with is not from here.
So that's your story of how you got here.
The way,
Dwight.
which means correct
Right,
in
yeah.
China. So now for my question.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
I'm bored ready for this.
Add a drum roll and post. Why did you come to China?
Whoa, didn't see that one coming. That came out of nowhere. It's not really a long story. It depends on where you start because I always wanted to teach abroad. So I did my TEFL course in Thailand. I then went and traveled Vietnam, and then actually came home, and I did some research, and I realized I wanted to move to Vietnam. Main reason being that the cost of living is really low, and you can have like an apartment with a swimming pool on the top of the apartment, and you can just hang out with people, have fun. The weather's really nice. There was a guy on YouTube called Ninja Teacher, and I watched a few of his videos, and he just bigged it up, and it just looked really good. So I didn't do that. Instead, I went to. So I was going to move to Ho Chi Minh. This is where it was all happening. But so I did Phuket, then travelled, then went back home, saved loads of money, travelled with my friend in Cambodia, then became a party rep in Thailand.
A party rep.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
I worked at a hostel in Chiang Mai where my job was just to get people really, really drunk, and I did that for 2 months.
Okay. Where at?
A place called Bodega. It's the #1 party hostel in Thailand. We can discuss the many exploits I got up to there. And so when I was there, I actually lost my debit card, and the reason I actually stayed there longer was because I lost my debit card and I had to wait. It took 3 weeks to get it. That's my excuse. Okay. So then I did an interview for Vietnam because I was always going to go to Ho Chi Minh. So I left Chiang Mai, and when I was in Chiang Mai, I did loads of interviews, and I had an interview with this lady in a place called Haiphong, which is near Cat Ba. Anyway, this interview.
In Ho Chi Minh City.
So Ho Chi Minh's in the south. I wanted to go to Ho Chi Minh, and then Haiphong's in the north. But I was just interviewing loads. I just wanted to have loads of different job options. I had an interview with this lady. I spoke for 2 minutes. The line cut off, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And then she emailed me like, "You've got the job." That was amazing. And I was like, "Okay." So I always had that in my back pocket, okay, because it had free accommodation, free food, free bike, and the money was really good, and it's really low cost of living. Me being stupid, I went to Ho Chi Minh with no money. I lived in a hostel. I was going to stay in a hostel for a month and try and teach, and it just didn't work out. So I called the lady and I was like, "Yo, I want to go to. Can I take the job? I have no money." She was like, "Okay." Went there. It's a story for another time. I worked there for a year, and then after that, I then decided that I wanted to either go to Japan or China. And then I just went on this website, and I just went. It's called. You should check out if you're looking for jobs in China. It's called Dave's ESL Cafe. And you type it in. It looks really shit, by the way. It looks like a not legit website. So I scrolled down and I just saw Shenzhen with the most money, and I was like, I'm going there. Like you, like we were discussing like off air. I'd watched loads of videos about China and the good things about China, and so yeah, moved to China, and that's why I'm here.
Right,
for the mullah.
Have you heard of Career China?
No.
So I went to the Career China, so it was kind of like the website looks nice.
So you went to an actual place?
No, it's online.
Oh, online, okay.
Yeah, so Career China, it looks very nice. They were like, we will pick you up from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
They had a customer service rep that I could email. I have my own personal person. I mean, obviously, she had other future teachers that she would email as well, but I could email her anytime about questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the company I work for is called Sport, and they use.
So I'm just saying, you probably shouldn't tell people where you work.
Well,
we're new to this.
Yeah, we're new to this. Anyways, I'm not talking shit, so that's okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, not yet. So the company I work for, bleep bleep, they use Career China.
I create those sound effects.
Yeah, that are like recruiters.
Mm-hmm.
And then they handle the visa process, and they handle getting you to China, and they handle all the on-board process, because I was in training for 2 weeks in Beijing.
Wow, your pronunciation was amazing.
Oh, yeah. So, for example, like, it looked really legit. It was compared to my friend who worked for, I can say this because I don't give a fuck and we're not monetized, EF. Mm-hmm. Everyone's heard of EF if you want to study abroad.
I didn't, by the way. If you've never heard of EF, it's nothing big. But people in China, apparently it's a really big company. I met a girl that you knew when we first met. And she was like, yeah, I work for EF. And I was like, I've never heard of them. She was like, well, they're the biggest company in China. And I was like, good for you. By the way, there are thousands of English schools in China.
Yeah,
and
don't...
majority is...
Like my friend in Wuhan that I just spoke of, he worked for EF. And apparently it's you don't want to work there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to work there. If you have to, it's a good place to find your way in. It's a good place for training if you've never been a teacher before. But from everything that so the whole step away from my visa process to my getting my documents notarized and authenticated, the whole process, I had my friend who just moved here, Isaac, to ask him questions about, and he was telling me, your company was way better than mine.
Okay.
So to put that in perspective.
First, beep beep or EF?
First beep beep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to go on to question number 2. Funny story, actually. When I was in Vietnam, I had to do the sounds for a test. They were like, because obviously, I don't know, if you're an American listener, I probably sound really posh to you. So I had to do this. I had to read these things where I go, Billy is at the school. Is he reading a book? Or it would be like, answer number A, book. And it was actually really difficult to do because I kept laughing, and the Vietnamese were like really like tough on me. They were like, you didn't say that right. And I was like, it's my fucking language. What are you on about? Anyway, so question number 2. what were your first impressions of China?
Let me elaborate. When I came here in April on tourist, or the first time arriving here to work? Where you want a snippet of tourism?
I don't want like stories per se. Just maybe first things when you first came as a tourist, and maybe when you came to Shenzhen. What were things that you just noticed that were completely different, or you're just your first impressions of China?
Okay, I'm just going to be broad, general about it. I would say the fucking buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the United States, and I'm sure that actually most of the UK, maybe not some of London, but in the United States, everything's spread out. Even apartment complexes are like 3 or 4 stories high.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got here, like every other block, there's 2 to 3, 30, 40, 50-story apartment complexes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of blown away by that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see that a lot when you type in like pictures of China. You just see like these temples in Beijing or.
Oh, so you were surprised of how big the buildings were?
Not necessarily how big the buildings were, how the number of apartments that were big. Because you can tell they're apartments, right? They're not business buildings; they're apartments. I was kind of blown away by that. And then I'm thinking, because I didn't really understand that it's not like, again, the United States, or I actually have been in the UK, but the United States, it's like you have few people who live in the middle of nowhere. Then you have these royal towns, so you got a little more people. Then you have these super small cities who have pretty good bit of people. Then you have middle-sized cities. Then you have large cities. Then you have New York and your LA and your Chicago, your Miami. But in China, it's just like fucking cities. Fucking city here, fucking city here, fucking city here.
If you're listening to this, because I might put this podcast up for just my friends to listen to. There are cities in China that you've probably never heard of called Guangzhou, Chongqing, Chengdu. These cities that you've never heard of have, I think, bigger populations than London, which is insane, right? And Shenzhen has a really high population as well.
Yes, so if you type in the top cities in terms of population in China, it's Shanghai,
Chongqing,
Beijing, Shenzhen.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, what the fuck is Chongqing?
Yeah.
So Chongqing.
Sounds like you're being racist.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Chongqing.
You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like Chongqing.
Well, I think this is interesting. Chongqing is in the same province as Chengdu.
Mm-hmm.
More people probably heard of Chengdu than Chongqing because Chengdu is where the huge panda reservation is.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of fucking pandas. But Chengdu and Chongqing is in the Sichuan province.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard the word Sichuan.
Why?
Whether that's Rick and Morty, the McDonald's Sichuan sauce.
Oh fuck! Is that what that's
Yeah.
from? Oh shit! That just fucking clicked now. That's just clicked now.
Or if you've heard of just the term Sichuan.
And that's the sauce that he wants from Moon. That's the sauce he wants from Mulan. Oh, that makes so much sense. But he wants that sauce. That sauce. By the way, Sichuan chili, whatever it's called, I'm not a fan of.
Spicy.
Yeah, it's a different spice to what
called,
people are like.
Mala, and it kind of translates like numb spicy.
Yeah.
These peppers,
Yeah, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because basically in China they obviously have hot pots, so they put all the food in, and they put the Sichuan chili in, and the reason I don't like it, the first time I did it, I was like, wow, this is amazing, it's so foreign. Then when I tasted it another time, it was just so. All the food tastes the same. That's why I kind of didn't like it. And it's just like there's no seasoning, so you just put food in, you eat. By the way, I'm not shitting on the hot pot. You eat everything. I'm quite a fussy eater, so this is probably just me. But when you eat it, you're like, I'm going to put some beef in. When I was with my colleagues, they were like, let's try some brain. Let's put some intestines in. And I was like, okay, I'll just eat anything on you. And I ate it, and I was like, okay. And it's just different textures of food, but it all tastes the same. But anyway, sorry, you were saying. Also, let's go into the, because we have a lot of questions. So let's go into the first impressions.
Well, no, I'm going to continue this.
Okay.
Okay, so listen, you said something that I think is incorrect. You said, also everyone knows about hot pot.
Mm-hmm.
I never even heard of hot pot before I came to China.
What?
Correct. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so hot pot, everyone, is this tub of oil with seasoning and spices and you can choose between like a coconut
It's
oil.
not oil. It's water. It's
Well,
boiled.
there's some oil in there. Like
Yeah,
the
but
coconut
the most
oil.
of it's water.
Yeah,
It's
but
just,
there's
it's,
still
just,
some oil.
it's just water. If it was oil, you'd like there'd be a lot of accidents.
Okay, maybe there's just a tad bit of oil. Okay, maybe not. But either way,
Have you had one before?
this is tub of
What did you
liquid.
have?
There's a tub of liquid with spices and onions and seasoning. And it's kind of like for people in the United States, it's kind of like a Korean barbecue. They bring you a bunch of raw food, like beef slices, quail eggs, regular eggs, onions, mushrooms, brain,
Intestines.
pig feet, not pig feet, chicken feet,
Yeah.
chicken feet.
Oh, they love that. Yeah, that's their favorite
chicken
food.
head, chicken, everything, the whole entire chicken, and you pretty much cook it yourself.
I know this girl, and
Google it.
she ate rabbit's head. So she took me a photo of a skull, and she owns a dog, and it looks exactly like her dog's skull. And I was like, do you know what? You're very close to doing that. Eating your dog.
Mini question.
Go ahead.
What's the craziest thing you've eaten in China thus far?
Brain.
Okay, mine's scorpion.
I ate scorpion in Thailand.
It's pretty crunchy. Tasteless, but
I
crunchy.
didn't like. I actually have a video of it on my Facebook.
Me too.
I
On my
ate a
phone.
very small bit, but okay, cool.
Okay,
right,
next
so let's go.
Wait, no, it's my turn.
No, you didn't even answer my question.
Oh my god.
What were your first impressions of China?
Um,
We started talking about the fucking geography of the place.
Besides the goddamn huge ass buildings.
Okay, yeah, you did say so. Okay, so the
That was my first impression upon the first time I visited China just as a tourist.
Mhm.
When I came back again, I stayed in the same place for 2 weeks, which is a fucking hotel room in Beijing. And one of the things I noticed was just like,
well, when you came back, you went to because you were doing training, right?
correct,
Okay,
I
yeah,
landed
yeah.
in Beijing and stayed there for 2 weeks.
I haven't been.
I think one of the first things I noticed was just like, you could be sitting outside at any point of the day and it's just people walking around. Like we wasn't even in that populated part of Beijing, and that like one thing I noticed is like you say the city never sleeps, but come to China, 3 in the morning, 3 in the morning till
you're right, actually.
midnight. There's people there. You can't stand out there for less than
It'd be
5 seconds.
like, so where we're from, 3 working hours. They say like 1 or 2. It maybe be quiet in town. That's why sometimes on your days off, if you work in the week, you go to town. Not in China. There's always people. There's always people like walking around. Like it looks like a busy day to the west.
Correct. There's always people walking around because we wake up early. And a couple nights I woke up at as we say in the South, the ass crack of dawn. I would be outside. I may or not have been drunk, but just people, start 4.
Hopefully, by the
4.
way, if you listened earlier in the podcast, I was pushing for more answers of his original trip. Maybe one day he'll share more of these fascinating details of this trip. It might be the reason that he came back.
Yeah, we'll get into the original trip, but that trip was more of like a.
We'll do another podcast.
Imagine like a spring break, but in China.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
there was not prostitutes.
you can go. You ask me. What's your second question on there?
Okay, my second question.
But, sorry, I should have said this. We have made questions for each other, and we don't know what these questions are. So this is why we're kind of doing this. We're trying to get a more raw, natural sort of
correct
answers.
dialogue. Yeah, correct. Okay,
And I just want to say, my last question might be a lot of fun for him because I think it's going to be really funny.
Okay, so this one, I'm going to ask you the question. There's 5 semi-parts to it.
Oh my god!
You have to say yes or no,
Mhm.
and then you can elaborate on 2 of them. So it's going to
Okay.
be quick, and then you can elaborate on a few of them.
Shit, man, that was my fucking last question. That was what I thought was going to be fun.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Which place do you like better? Vietnam or China? And I will say a few aspects, and you will say Vietnam or China. Since you lived in Vietnam and now you live in China.
Oh wow!
Okay, are you
By the
ready?
way, I didn't think that I didn't know that you spent this much time on that. I thought you were just gonna okay, cool. This is cool.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Food,
China.
infrastructure,
China.
The money.
China.
Girls.
China.
Culture.
I'm gonna say Vietnam for now, only because I actually haven't traveled outside of Shenzhen, and I've traveled all of Vietnam, and I love the culture because it's very mixed, because they have foreigners there, and the people. So in Vietnam, the South speak a different dialect to the Central, and the Central speak a different dialect to the North. So there's a lot of actually different cultures, because when you think about Vietnam, you have to think that it's a really slim country that's on the coast, which is really nice because they have little islands, and when you travel basically Vietnam, you're always usually next to a beach. When you get to the north, you have mountains, and it's just the people are really nice. A lot of people say that Vietnam is Thailand 10 years ago. Thailand at the moment is just so commercial. There's obviously a lot of culture there. Most Thai people now speak English. Vietnam, not as much. And Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, yeah, and Da Nang, kind of. But when you travel through, it's a really friendly place. If you ever want to travel, it's a really, really easy place to travel. So yeah.
Okay, I had a question back in my head, but I forgot. It's crazy. You can forget.
Wait, he was just like nodding his head, like looking at me. I was like, if this was a Tinder date, I would be like, I'd be in.
Yeah.
Giving these loving eyes.
Yeah. Also, you can even just look up the history of Vietnam. I've watched a few videos, and you can see that about the diversity, because some of the fucking geographical lines of the country in between those three, or Thailand, Vietnam.
It's also just a massive piss up.
They were just fucking thrown together.
It was like I did
together.
All these amazing cultural things, but the good thing about it is because so the really good thing about Vietnam, especially when you travel, is you either start at Ho Chi Minh, the south, or Hanoi, the north, and there's only one way you can travel, up or down. So if you start, which I did, I started in Ho Chi Minh, so I travelled up. What happened was that I would stay at hostels and I would meet people, and I would travel up, but they're also travelling up, so we'd bump into each other. So you're kind of actually in a kind of big, weird crowd where you kind of keep all travelling up and keep bumping into each other, because in Vietnam there's a hostel chain called VBH, which is the big party hostel, and a lot of people stay there. And just for everyone out there, when I say party hostel, I don't mean I want to go to like a Magaluf or an Ibiza sort of place. The reason that party hostels are so good is that if you're a solo traveler, which I was, you go there and people just want to have fun. They just want to speak to people. And I started off on my own. When I was in Hanoi, I was traveling with 14 people. And I actually got to the point near the end where I wasn't meeting any new people because we were such a big group. People were intimidated of us. So there's different aspects to traveling on your own and in groups. But it was really fun because you'd be like, oh, dude, you were in Da Nang and we did that really fun thing together. I'd be like, oh, yeah. And it's just a really, it has a good community, and yeah, that's...
To be fair, I've never been to Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
so I like everything you say. I enjoy what you're saying about it. I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say, shout out to the great Anthony Bourdain.
Who's that?
Anthony Bourdain, he was on Parts Unknown, CNN's, but he would go to every country and eat the food, talk about politics and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I heard about him.
He killed himself last year.
Was that on Joe Rogan?
He was on
By the way,
he was one of the first.
Joe Rogan fan, yeah.
He was one of the first guests on Joe Rogan, Anthony Bourdain. He was Joe Rogan's friend.
Yeah, I know he's really famous in America, right?
Yeah. So I'll show you the show. He goes to every country, or a bunch of countries, and he eats the food, talks about the food because he's a chef. And he talks about politics and stuff. But one thing he said about China, and Daniel said this earlier, it said so big, right? Anthony Bourdain said he went to, I think, Beijing. I may be incorrect. He said, I'm going to go ahead and say this. China is too big, too old, and too populated for me to ever give a consensus about this country. He goes, you have to live here a lifetime to get consensus about it.
And I just want to say this. So I don't think people realize, I think everyone knows China's big, okay? I just want to tell you how big it is, okay? So this girl, question mark, what our relationship is, she traveled from Shenzhen to her hometown up north. It was a 9-hour flight, non-stop. Where I live in London, it's a 7-hour flight to Dubai.
Right.
Put that in context. That's how big China is.
Yeah. So from Hong Kong to Beijing is probably a similar distance to LA to New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's just China is it's long north to south as the United States is long east to west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, yeah. Cool. All right. So my question. Okay. So what are 3 things about China that surprised you?
3 things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
I have answers, so you can ask me if you don't answer them correctly. I'm
okay.
joking.
So three that's not fair. 3 things that surprised me. I'll just go off the top of my head. I'm not gonna think about it too hard, right?
Okay.
First of all, before I came here, I stocked up on deodorant. I stocked up on contact solution. I was thinking I'm going to some, second world country. And then I get here and like a week later, I'm like, they have all this shit.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people think, for some reason, because the media and stuff, that they think that the country
Right.
has no infrastructure, which is insane.
Like, literally anything I want, I can probably get
Mm-hmm.
here in Shenzhen. It may be different if we're in, some fucking village in the middle of Tibet, but we're not going to talk about that. Plus, in Shenzhen, I can just go across the border to Hong Kong and get literally anything Western I want.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Shenzhen, right?
We're about a 15-minute train ride from Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
or a 45-minute ferry to Hong Kong Island or Central or Kowloon if you're interested. Number 2, I would say one thing that really fucking shocked me is, and we do not hear this in the United States media,
Mm-hmm.
95% of people I meet in China are overtly nice and go out of the way for me being a foreigner.
Yeah, that's.
You agree?
Chinese people. I lived in Vietnam, and they said that Chinese people were rude. Chinese people are so nice. Can I tell you a story of how nice they are? I was on a train, and there was a spare seat, and everyone got on. There was this old man, and I just pointed to the seat and was, "You sit down." And he went, "No, you sit down." And I was like, "No, you sit down." And he was like, "No, you sit down." And he ran away for me to sit down, and I didn't sit down. And then some other bellend just came and sat down. But yeah. Sorry,
you're exactly right. Like, there's so many instances where I have to literally be careful when I ask for things because I feel like people will go out of their way to help me, and I don't want that. I don't want someone, if I have a simple question and I ask someone, a lot of times they will go like out of their way and like start calling people, start Googling it, or not Google it, but using Bing or Baidu and they're looking up all these questions, and it's just a simple question on the top of my head. So I have to literally be careful.
Okay, I know. I just want to ask you a question because I find this really interesting. Do you think Chinese people are nice to you because you're foreign?
Yes. I think they have their culture. They didn't experience a lot of foreigners for like a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So now when they see them, they're curious.
But it's also they're like,
see, they don't see your media, but they watch your movies.
Exactly, yeah.
So they watch their movie. They'll watch their movies. They listen to our music. They don't see our media, so it puts a positive image about foreigners. So they see foreigners.
Oh, yeah.
So another example, like if you come to China and you have tattoos and earrings and you look like you want to look. You look cool. You dress fashionable. People in rural parts of the South, where I'm from, of Alabama, or if you're in fucking Wales or Royal Park, UK, they might be able to look at that piece of shit. He's a hooligan.
Yeah.
Or he's a fucking piece of shit. But here, like they'll be like, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll turn around and look at another person from China dressed the same way and be like, man, fuck
that kid.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that was 2. What's the third one?
I guess the third one would be. Let me think for a second.
Okay. So whilst you're thinking of yours, I'll tell you mine.
Go ahead.
So number 1, one of the things about China is that what was the question again? That surprised me was that Chinese people are really fucking tall.
Holy fuck! So that the further north, the taller, right?
We're the fucking south.
Yeah, but in Beijing, there's a fuck ton of tall people.
Serious?
Yeah.
Like, every day I will walk past a Chinese man that's way taller than me, and I'm not talking just about men. There's some
How
women
tall are you?
that's so. I'm 5'11",
Yeah, I'm 5'6", so I'm very short. So
so it's just a normal day. For
yeah, it's
you.
a normal day for me. But
You're like,
no,
I'm with my people.
I agree with Daniel. There's a like when I was in Beijing, even Isaac just told me this. Apparently, people can genetically a little more taller than northern China
Oh, okay.
than southern.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fuck ton of tall people. Like I'm talking, I see like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
Mm-hmm.
Like I see girls, like you said, girls who are like 6'3".
Yeah, and it's not like randomly, like on a regular basis, there will be some women that are just taller than me. And that was one thing. And I don't know if that's because what the media says about China or anything like that, or there's like weird jokes. But that was one thing that actually just surprised me. I was like, oh, because in Vietnam, people are just a lot shorter. I don't know why, but everywhere in Vietnam, they're always a lot shorter than me. So when I came to China and people were bigger than me, that was like a really big thing. I was like, what the fuck?
I'm talking out of my ass here,
Mm-hmm.
so you might want to Google this and leave in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people in Southeast Asia are generally short. But the further north you get, you can like Mongolia, northern China.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are a little more taller genetically.
Because of Genghis Khan.
Yeah, because he fucked everyone.
Okay, so
Okay, my third
okay,
I'm gonna
cool,
say
cool, cool.
is how much you use your phone.
Oh, that's a really good
So
one.
boys back home. So you're going out with your boys.
That's
you're
a
going
really
to get a
good
drink.
one.
You're going to the club. You know, you do we always did the touch, touch, touch. I touch my back pocket, make sure I got my keys. Touch my front pocket to make sure I have my
How's
wallet.
that Guinness going down?
Right. So I did the touch, touch, touch. So keys, wallet, phone.
Mm-hmm.
Every time back home. If I'm leaving work, I'm leaving the club. I didn't go to the club much. Leaving the strip club only. Leaving the bar. Leaving McDonald's. The keys, phone, wallet. Wallet, phone, keys.
Mm.
Always. So here in China, phone.
So
That's
you
it.
need.
Use your phone to get into your apartment, to pay for your Uber, to pay everything. Like literally everything.
I thought you were talking about how much people are on their phone. Because I know in
That too.
London, when I go on the tube, people are on their phone a lot, but there's still people that just kind of are listening to music and just sitting back and just like living their lives. Whereas, I'm not joking, if you ever come to Shenzhen, I don't know anywhere else in China, like, if you get on a train, everyone's head is down. And I didn't have internet for a while. I don't think I had a phone for like a week. So I was actually paying. By the way, in Shenzhen, it's crazy, using cash. I was using cash. I was going on the train, and I was just like, I was at that, you know, those like fucking aunties that are just like, why is everybody on their phones? Once I got my phone, I was with them. Okay, I was just on my phone all the time. But for me, it was one of these things that, because like Jagger was saying, your phone is everything. When they get on the train, they're just always on their phone, always looking at their phone. Would you agree?
Yes. They're probably on the phone more than people in the United States per average.
Mm,
Just for me noticing and walking around.
yeah.
You look around the subway, there's not many people that aren't looking at their phone.
So we should probably say as well, so the reason that you have your phone is if you have like Apple Pay, they have this thing called WeChat. So it's kind of Apple Pay, but then it's also like WhatsApp. It's kind of like Facebook. It's kind of like Instagram.
Yes.
Everything into one app. So that's why I lost my phone on a taxi. I woke up the next day. I was drunk. I woke up the next day like, my life is fucking ruined. Imagine losing your phone, your wallet, on like the same
Your
night.
keys?
Your keys.
Yeah.
It was just everything. It was horrible.
Right. Use WeChat for everything. I'm sure actually most people have heard of WeChat.
Okay, so my number 2 is the toilet and the lack of them. Okay, so what I mean by this is in Vietnam and in the Western world, there are always Western toilets.
Daniel's going to explain about the toilets here before he elaborates.
So there's always been the squat toilets. I've had them in Thailand, I've had them in Vietnam, but they're always in kind of rural areas. So when I came through from Hong Kong, I came into Shenzhen. Like I said, I needed to get some Wi-Fi, so I got on a train because I knew kind of roughly where I had to go. I got off and I went to a KFC, and I was like, I need a fucking shit. I need a deuce. So I went upstairs, and there was a hole in the toilet in KFC, and I was like, holy shit. And I was like, okay, maybe that's just, you know. And then when I started working at my place, and this is probably a longer story for later in life in another podcast, but at work, I don't have a Western toilet. I have a hole in the ground. and it took me a month until I had my first poo there, and I'm pretty much sure that everyone that's listening to this knows what a hole in the ground is and what you have to do for it. And obviously everyone's really scared and don't want to do it for all these different reasons. And I think that's maybe like a discussion for a different day.
That's definitely a discussion for a different day. And I'm going to leave it on this.
Number 3, I put up. I think actually we spoke about this one time. And for me, it was a lot. But for you, you gave me some facts. But for me, the amount of cameras. So when I came through Hong Kong, first thing I did is I went and had a fag. America, that just means cigarette. I'm not being homophobic. So I went and had a fag outside, and I'm not joking, there was about 30 cameras just in this bit outside, and I was like, holy shit.
In Hong Kong or China?
So I walked through Hong Kong, came into Shenzhen in China, walked through, and compared to Hong Kong, there's a few cameras, like CCTV cameras. And obviously because it's by the border, there was all these cameras. And I think people know like of the surveillance in China. But for me, I was like, fuck, man, this is fucking real. I'm like, probably already know my face.
Oh, they definitely have your face. The cameras just scan your face. They're not just regular cameras. They scan your face. I actually sent a Snapchat to one of my friends. I was outside the back of my apartment. And I zoomed in on like 8 different cameras behind my apartment. There's no road there.
Fuck.
And there was like 8 different cameras.
Yeah, so in Shenzhen, I've never heard it happen to anyone, but I've seen on YouTube that if you jaywalk, it will take a photo of you, it will put it on a screen to like embarrass you in front of people, and then it will, because your WeChat's connected to you, it will find you on your WeChat. I've heard stories on YouTube of it happening to people. I don't know anyone that's happened to. I don't know if it's on like these main streets, but yeah. That's mad, right?
Wow, that's very interesting. I've never heard that either.
So you asking me a question? Yeah, you're asking me a question now.
Okay, are you ready?
I really need the toilet, but yeah.
Okay, so which country has the best girls? Well, I have to elaborate. Vietnam, China, or the UK? Thus far, in your opinion.
Depends. Interesting question. Depends on what you're into. Obviously, if you're into Caucasian girls, England's probably your best bet. If you're into it, but the weirdest thing about Vietnam, in regards to China, is I find it actually a very similar culture. Let's not talk about the big cities. Okay, let's talk about the rural sides.
Okay.
I've never been in the rural sides, but I can imagine it's going to be like rural parts of Vietnam because Vietnam's on the border. Chinese invaded it. I did a school trip with some of the kids, and it was Chinese culture. It was a Chinese temple. It had Chinese dragons on it, and it was in Chinese like lettering and everything. So they've got very similar culture, and Chinese and Vietnamese culture is very conservative. Fly over to Thailand, it's not very conservative at all.
You have,
but they're like the 2 sort of big countries in Southeast Asia.
Thailand and China? Or the 2 big
Thailand
countries?
and Vietnam in Southeast Asia are kind of like the 2 big like traveling spots. I think Chinese girls are like fitter, more attractive for me personally. Like Vietnamese girls are really nice, but for me, Chinese girls are...
They're kind of skinny.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a
no
topic for another day.
Vietnamese babes.
Yeah. Oh no, there's so many beautiful
babes.
Vietnamese girls, but I actually didn't date any Vietnamese girls when I was there because where I lived was so rural. None of them spoke English. Whereas in Shenzhen, I've met Chinese girls that can speak my language, if you know what I mean. Hey. Okay. So here we go. Question number 4. What are the most frustrating things about living in China?
So for me, easily the most frustrating thing is my work. So like right now, I'm using my friend's SIM card. So a lot of the stuff I need is on my other SIM card, but I can't get my SIM card unless I fly back to Beijing because my company told me I need to get a SIM card in Beijing while I was there for 2 weeks so I don't get lost. So now I have to fly back to Beijing to get a SIM card, so I'm using another SIM card. So half of my apps are hooked to my old SIM card.
Oh,
And, in China, there's a lot of text to phone verification.
yeah. It's really difficult.
My work is more annoying than that.
Oh.
It's just, in my work, it's like when we're preparing for classes.
Just saying this, please don't share this to anyone at your work.
Yeah, please don't listen to anyone at work. Like going over my classes is just like hell.
By the way, I can actually delete your thing. So you actually might not know where he works now.
Yeah, fuck you guys. So like, I'll go over a class. It's just me practicing with Chinese teachers, and like so let's say there's 20 slides per class.
Mhm.
Every slide that comes up, I teach. I use the PowerPoint as a presentation, obviously, and I teach. There's games and stuff. Like every single one, the teachers like pause me and give me like 5 or 10 minutes of like feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone. Like
Mhm.
it takes me like an hour to do like a 20-minute session because everything I say, they're like, no, don't do that. So like now, at this point, I make them mad because they're like, did you prepare? I'm like, yeah, of course. And like the first slide, I say, what do I do? And I make them so mad because like they're like, what do you mean? What do I do? And I said, every time I prepare, you just tell me I'm doing it wrong. So now why don't you tell me what to do and I'll practice that.
Yeah, and that's something I said to
Right.
my work a lot. Is I find with just with my school, I don't know if it's other schools, is they talk about the theory a lot, and I just go, just show me what to do. Just do a video of tell me what to do, and I'll do it. If you can just give me a video of a teacher teaching that you want me to teach in that style, I'll do it. I'll maybe adopt it differently to me, but yeah.
Right, it's very frustrating. It's like it's a way very different from Western culture to where back in the United States, in my job, you've done something good, like your whole team, all your coworkers, they're coming to you like, fuck yeah, dude, fuck yeah, dude, good job, high five.
No, keep going. I'm just saying.
High five, and here it's like you do something awesome, you kill the class, like all the kids are jumping up and down, having fun. The Chinese teacher is smiling, the parents are smiling. Afterwards, they're like, well, that one slide, you kind of fucked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, you need to work on that next time. No, good job. Which I think that's more like an Asian thing, but...
Yeah. Okay, we'll go into... I think the next one's my question. Oh, wait, no, sorry. You have to ask me a question.
Okay, say when.
Now.
Okay, so...
Sorry, for anyone there, we just had a break. Let's just be honest. We just went for a cigarette break. And
fix it in post. Alright, so
I don't know if I can do that, but yeah.
Here's going to be a quick question. It might be kind of funny, maybe not. We'll see. Tell me a funny story from the past week or two involving something Chinese or someone Chinese.
Funny story. To be honest, Okay, so here's a funny story. It actually has to do with you as well. So there's a bar in Shenzhen called Snake Pit. Obviously, at the moment we have coronavirus, and actually, I spoke to my mum the other day, and one of the funniest things I said to her was that a lot of the Chinese people are really scared. They'll be like, "Wear your face mask, wear your face mask." But you remember we went to George and Dragon, and it was just full of foreigners, and no one was wearing a face mask. No one gave a shit, and everyone was just drinking.
Yeah, foreigners don't have a problem with their face mask. Like you walk to any of the pubs or the foreigner places, and there's no one wearing a mask. Not even around their face.
It's like there's this little bubble where everyone's just like, yeah, whatever, man. But anyway, we went to this place called Snake Pit, and we met this guy from Sheffield, and we were drinking with him.
Steve.
Is that his name? Yeah, Steve. I should know this because basically he told me and Jagger that he was like he only has kids. And he just said to us, he was like, yeah, guys, like if I wish I had sons, to be honest, if I had sons, I want them to be you. Like I like who you are as a person. He was telling me I should have a modelling career. He was like, you should be a model, and I was like, Steve, I wear very baggy clothes for a reason.
And to elaborate, Steve's not being perverted. He's not being he's not being weird. He's being very nice.
Yeah.
He's being nice.
You know, we're both okay-ish looking people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took it as a compliment. Because he was giving me so many compliments, I basically stayed with him for 3 hours because I needed the self-esteem.
Steve
But
is
he was
a nice
always
guy.
a really nice guy. I think, yeah. Recently, I've been having some ups and downs in China. I think living in China, there's a sort of 6-month period that you run through, and your eyes open to more things. I've noticed more things. I won't get too into it, but like maybe in later podcasts we can discuss it. But there's been a few things that I thought were okay, but they're not. But anyway, yeah. All right. So my next question was, what are the best things about China?
Okay, I'm just gonna name a few. And you can elaborate. You stop me. So one is it's super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was speaking earlier about my cell phone bill. My cell phone bill here is like $11 USD. Same service is about $77 USD back home, or more, or less, a little bit less. Expensive as fuck.
But like you were saying, it's not that we're living in a cheap city. We're living in one of there's 4-tier cities, and there's first-tier cities, which are Beijing, Shenzhen. Is it 3 tiers? I think there's 4.
What Daniel's saying is there's 4 tier 1 cities. You said it.
Oh, I thought there's 4.
There's
tiers.
4.
Oh, okay.
There's 4 tier 1 cities. There's 3 tiers of cities.
I thought there was 4 tiers of cities.
Maybe, but 4 and 3 is the smaller cities.
Yeah.
Tier 1 city is the bigger cities. Even if Daniel's right where I'm at, doesn't matter. So go ahead.
So Shenzhen is a first tier city. Guangzhou, Beijing, and Shanghai. So we're living in the biggest, okay. So you can say it.
And Chongqing. Chongqing is a tier 1 city.
No, it's not.
It is one of the most populated cities in the world.
But it's not a first tier city.
Really?
It hasn't got the infrastructure for it.
Oh.
It's the so from what I know, there's 4 tier. There's 4 tiers. First tier is Shenzhen, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shanghai. So anyway, we can talk about this another time. But
right.
We're living in America, like a kind of Chicago.
Yeah,
sort of
or like
place.
San Francisco.
Yeah,
it's like the San Francisco or Silicon Valley. Well, technically,
Frisco, baby.
Yeah, San Fran. This Shenzhen is on as the Silicon Valley of China, the tech capital of China. It's very new.
We said that.
Yeah, we already said that. But
so okay, so we're saying it's cheap. We're saying it's cheap.
It's cheap. People were nice.
Mm-hmm.
People were nice to me. I get more help as a foreigner than Chinese people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The food is good and cheap.
Yeah.
I would say. But I can elaborate. I'm not very picky, so I like to try all kinds of stuff. So I really love the food here. I order salads a lot of days. I order Chinese food. I like trying new stuff. Another thing is the infrastructure makes it easy. So as of right now, I could ride my bike to work about 30 minutes. I could walk a bunch of places. I can take the metro, and I can also get a DD,
mm-hmm.
which is like Uber for us back home.
But can I just say this? So I don't think people understand how cheap the train is. The metro, it's an underground, and to get from one side of the city to the other, 6 yuan, which is about in English currency, it's like 80p.
Yeah, that's about 90 cents to go from one side of the city to the other.
And it's a big fucking city. Right. It's massive.
But even this, so the other day, when I went to see this girl I'm talking to, it was 60 kwai to go from here to, you live in Chile, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Chile. From here to, I can't remember the metro stop she lived in, honestly, but it was above Futian.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, I don't know if you're listening, you probably don't know. It was a good 30 minutes in the taxi.
Like Shenzhen is basically, if you look at an upside down L.
Yeah, correct. It's
like on L. If you turn the L upside down, it's like to the right of the L.
Correct. So it was about 30 minutes.
I was really good at geography.
Yeah. It was about 30 minutes in a taxi, and it was 60 yuan. So that's kind of a lot here for a taxi, 60 yuan. But then I'll look at this in terms of USD. That's about $9.
So cheap.
You get one Uber 10 minutes away on a Friday night in the United States. It's $20.
That's why I'm a DD whore.
Yeah,
because it's so cheap. It's so expensive in England.
20 kwai, I can go fucking 15 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
I can go anywhere within a 10-mile radius.
I take a DD to work every day because I can. because I
Yeah.
can afford it.
No, and they teach it like, so it's funny because when I first got here, I was like riding bikes and taking the metro. And this expat told me, he goes,
Oh, the what?
this expat told me,
I think it's sex pack.
this expat, yeah, this fucking sexpat that
Sleaze
the
back.
sexpat cougar, she's about 60 years old. She was like, yeah, you know, you're taking the metro now, but once you realize how easy DD is, you won't ever go back.
Which is true. I
Which
actually
is
have
true,
it.
yeah. So now, like, I'll wake up late. So I go to this gym sometimes, but it's like classes, so I can't really show up when I want.
Mhm.
I'm kind of going to be there at a certain time. And now I'll just wake up late and be like, fuck it. If it's a Saturday or Sunday when I have to wake up early for work, I'm not taking the metro.
Yeah.
I'm taking.
Yo,
I'm
when I
taking the
first started, it was like, oh shit, man, I gotta get up at 7:00. Okay, here we go. And now it's like 8:10, and like I barely make it to work, but it's okay.
It's okay also because in China, if you're late for work, everyone else is. Nothing is on time ever.
No,
I
that's
had
the
to
truth.
tell my work. I said, listen,
I think
when
that's
we
true.
practice, we have to start 15 minutes before. And she's like, why? I'm like, because we always start 15 minutes after. Like, we never start on time, ever. And so I
My
had to-
school's really punctual, but
Wow.
the
wanna be
thing is,
there.
on a Saturday morning when we start at 9, I guarantee that no one is at work at like 8:30. Everyone gets there at 10 to 9. And it's so weird because I'm one of the first people that gets there sometimes. And I walk in.
DD
Yeah, I can take DD.
or Uber.
And I walked in and like no one's there and there's no kids. And I start teaching in 10 minutes. And there's a part of me that's like, maybe no one's going to turn up. And then everyone just comes in at once and you're like, oh yeah, his life. Here we go.
Yes, that's true. Everyone shows up like right before the time
Yeah.
and after.
Mm.
Like when I have a demo, so a demo for my school, we both work at training centers. So essentially, we teach kids after school or in the weekends, or or older. I'm not sure about Daniel, but we teach older people. I teach kids 3 to 7, all after school. So we have demos, and like half of the demos, like my marketing.
Maybe explain what a demo is.
A demo is where a kid will come. A kid or 1 to 12 kids. It might be 12 kids. They'll come, and we teach a demonstration class in hopes that their parents will sign up for our school.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it will be like 3 minutes before the demo, and I like pop my head in the marketing department. I say, cancel, and they're like, yep, and I just fucking leave. And they hate it. They hate that I say that because it's making them money, right?
Yeah,
Their
but
job
we
is to
don't.
recruit people.
Yeah, but we
But-
don't get
but I'll
as much
pop in.
money as the recruiters do because that's their job, right?
Right. I'll pop in and I'll say, demo, and they'll be like, 1 kid. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
anyone starting China, a demo for 1 kid is not good.
That's what we do every time.
Dude,
I only do demos with 1 kid. You do
won't like-
12.
you won't like, no. We usually have like 3 to 4.
That's
It's better with 3 to 4 because
Yeah.
if 1 kid starts saying the words right.
Yeah, there's copy.
Okay, so let's talk about this from a business perspective. If 1 kid in that demo is really good,
dude, yeah, I
the
get
other
you, I get
parents
you, I
will
get you.
think that the kid is not up to par and they'll sign up.
Mhm.
Which I think, it's kind of, it's just business. I'm not going
Mhm.
to talk negative or positive about the aspect of it,
Mhm.
but it is what it is.
Mhm.
But when it's 1 kid, I have to like look at them the whole time.
Mhm.
And if that 1 kid won't say a word,
You're a bad teacher.
I'm
I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm the worst.
No, most
Parents-
of
the parents
my
graduated.
I've only ever had a demo. Like the max people I've ever had in a demo was 2 kids, but most of the time is 1. So that's why I was laughing when you pop your head out and you're like, "Demo's going on." Usually I have 1 kid, so it's like they come or they don't, and
Yes.
sometimes they just don't come. And then I'm like, "Yeah, I got free time now. I can just chill, do my lesson plans a bit
Yeah,
more."
because like Daniel said, that we have these scheduled.
Mm.
So like a lot of my demos get canceled too because I'm at a smaller center as well. So I pop my head in there, I say demo, and the girl's like canceled, and I'll pop our head back out, and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go get some coffee.
Okay, so right, you go. I think it's your turn.
Okay, so it's funny you asked me my favorite part about. Would you say my favorite part about living in China?
Mhm.
I have this wrote down, so this is not bullshitting, audience. So fuck you. I have, as of today, what's your least favorite part of living in China?
Is that your impression of me?
Yes, that's my British impression.
Jesus.
Sorry, guys in the UK.
My least favorite part.
of living in China. You can just name one.
Yeah, so actually, obviously, I told you this question. So I actually wrote my own answers down, and I'm just looking at them. And the one that just stands out to me, because there's ones that I annoy me, but I think the main thing is not speaking the language. Is probably the most frustrating thing. I've had so many instances where people have called me, like a takeaway's called me. I've ordered something, and they're probably what I'm guessing is they've called me and gone, "Oh, hey, dude, sorry, dude, you ordered the hamburger. We don't have the hamburger. I'm sorry." And I'm just like, and then I'm uh, like, "What morning by Nishio Shima?" Like, I don't understand what you're saying. And then I just try and say to them, like, "You just whatever, just bring what you can. The food, just change it. I don't care. Just bring the food to me." There's moments where, obviously, with the coronavirus, where I go into my um, where I live in my apartment, and a guy will stop me, and it might be a new guy, and he'll ask me questions like, "Where?" Like, even coming into your apartment now, he asked me to sign something, and me and you were like, "We don't fucking understand what I need to do," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll just write my name." And there was a section I didn't know what to do, so I just wrote in English 26. And he was like, yeah, he was just like, "Yeah, it was good, thank you."
I don't think he could read the English that we wrote. But like Daniel was saying, actually, funny story. Last night, remember I was telling you, I was like, "Fuck, Daniel, I'm trying to talk to you in the my was it why my
Shema.
takeaway why my yes why my so why my means takeaway. So the why my the takeaway the restaurant I ordered food from was calling me. So I answered.
Oh, okay.
And as I answered, I said Chima, which I'm just making them pause. And I immediately got on my computer and I typed in text me. And then I like said it out loud. They said Chima. And then I tried to say what they said. Look what they understood me. So they text me a picture of another worker's phone where they Google translated it. So they sent me a picture on the app of a phone that they used Google Translate. And the Google Translate said, "No hot and sour soup, only spicy." And I just said, "How'da?"
How'da?
Which just means okay.
Yeah.
And okay. And they sent me something else. And I sent it to a girl. And I said, "What does it say?" And they said, "Sorry." And I'm like, I just sent back, "How'da?" Which means okay. I just said, okay.
Like, I did an instance with the police. So I have a full tattoo sleeve. And there was
Daniel's sick as fuck. He's got a whole ass sleeve on his left arm. He's got some skulls, some Japanese waves.
Slaves?
Waves.
Okay, nice. Yeah, but I don't have Japanese slaves in my arm. That'd be awful. Yeah, I had an instance where there were two guys and they had a massive fight, and one of the guys got bottled in the face. By the way, I was just sitting there watching football and I wasn't really paying attention, and the police came. And they looked me up and down, and I was like trying to explain what happened to this. To be honest, I actually didn't know the two guys that well. They came and sat with us where we were.
Was it foreigners?
Yeah, expats, unfortunately. And they were the ones that had the fight. So he was sitting down, and I was trying to explain to him, like, this is what's happened, and he just went, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm a teacher." And he was like, "Do you have any proof?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I showed him videos of me teaching. Anyway, my friend said, "Okay, they're asking too many questions about you," so we left. By the way, this conversation that I was having with the policeman was being translated by my Chinese friend. So we left, and then the police followed us, and they were asking us stuff. And it was quite late in the evening, and
you were drunk.
I was so drunk. I was like smoking in his face, having a beer, like not really thinking too much into it. Whereas my friend was like, "Dude, this is maybe quite a serious moment." And I was like, "It's okay." So I just called my Chinese friend, and we had to translate. And it was one of these situations where if I could speak the language, I could have just got out of this situation so much like easier. If my friend didn't pick up, what was I going to do? Were they going to take me back to the police station? And it's these moments where the language barrier for me is the what was the question? Like the most frustrating things about living in China. But yeah, okay. Funny we're talking about this because my next question segues into this. How is your Chinese? The $1 million question when you're a foreigner in China, when you meet other foreigners that are dicks, they always be like, how is your Chinese? And you always go, Idian, which means a little bit.
Mine's not very good.
Mm.
I mean, okay, so a quick fact to elaborate on this. So when you're a foreigner in China and you can say like a sentence, every Chinese person here say, "Oh, your Chinese is so good."
Yeah, it's so fun.
Like all my coworkers, I say like one word in Chinese, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good." So it's hard to elaborate because every person you meet that's Chinese that can speak a little bit of English tries to show their full extent of the language to you.
Mm.
So like when I'm in a coffee shop, someone like immediately says, "Hello, hot or cold?" They immediately try to talk to me in English.
Mm.
So a lot of times it is hard for me to practice in Shenzhen. It's not the same in other cities.
I disagree.
In which aspect?
Well, firstly, I try to learn on my break at work, usually Saturday and Sundays, I would learn Chinese and I would go speak to some people. And there's two kinds of Chinese people. There's Chinese people that can see that you're trying and don't care about the tones as much. And then there's other people that care about the tones. So I'll say something and my TA, who's like my best friend, he's just so ruthless. He'll be like, "Yeah, but you didn't say it like this." He's Cantonese, by the way. He's like the old school, like Hong Kong. He speaks like that. I love it. He'll just be like, "Why?"
Oh my God.
It's so funny. And by the way, I just want to say this, like, I'm not being racist or anything like that. So people that are not part of China, they might think that's racist, but I live in China. Obviously, I'm not racist to Chinese people. That's how he sounds to me. He takes piss out of my accent all the time. But when I say things to him, he's really cutthroat. But like you were saying, sometimes to the shop near me, I'll go in and he'll speak English to me and I just speak only Chinese to him. And we kind of have this like jokes where he'll say something in Chinese. We'd be like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I laugh. And I was saying like, 我要牛比. I was just like, I was pointing at like a pasty, like I was like, "I want meat," and he was like, 牛比, 牛肉.
Neo roll, which is beef.
Roll, beef. And I was just saying, does this have beef basically? And he was like, "Yeah." But yeah. So my Chinese is, I learned in Vietnam, came here, was learning, and then I thought I wanted to go to Japan, so I learned Japanese. And now I've got back to Chinese, and it's weird how much I remembered. It's really weird.
Yeah, so my Chinese is not good.
I think it's better than you think it is.
Better than I think it is, but I'm pretty hard on myself. Because first of all, if you look at the United States military, they have the skill of how. So if they want to train a soldier who's enlisted in the army, sometimes you might get a job as a translator.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a job as a translator because you can speak a lot of Chinese. You can get a job when they fucking teach you.
Mm.
Right? They fucking teach you. They tell you what to do and you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 4 categories of languages. For example, a language on the first category is like Spanish.
No,
this is as an English speaker.
I want to go against you on this argument.
This is as an English speaker.
Okay.
So one of the top is Chinese.
It's
so it is harder for English speakers, but it's not impossible.
It's harder for English speakers. But the reason that it's on the top, do you know why it's on the top 4?
I do not know.
So it's basically this. They don't have an alphabet. They have the characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're called characters. I'm sorry if they're wrong. But they have characters.
We'll say chicken scratch.
So in Japanese, they have hiragana and katakana. It's a phonetic alphabet. So when they have the kanji, they'll have the hiragana or katakana above it so you can say the word. Chinese doesn't have that. Speaking Chinese is so fucking easy. So if I say to you...
In terms of grammar, right?
So, okay, we have... Well, let me say this to you. How hard is English? Have, has, had. Think of those 3 things as a concept, yeah?
Right.
In Chinese, they just have ya.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Which just means have.
When I was trying to practice Chinese before I moved here, I was watching all these videos and they're like, "Oh, you gotta say this, you gotta say this, you have to say this, you need to use this word." When I get here, like 30 words people told me to use on these YouTube videos and these translator apps. I can just say ni hao.
Mm.
Like like here, everyone makes the language very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't fuck around when they're talking.
So I
They'll
was
just say ni hao instead of like 1,000 different words. Instead of like, hey, how you doing? What's up? I'm alright. Ni hao.
yeah.
Ni hao. That's it.
And I was studying today all different drinks and foods, and I wrote long.
Sorry to interrupt you, but hanji is
Hanji.
is the Chinese word for the characters. What they call it.
Oh, hanji. Okay.
Because they don't. Because I've noticed a lot of times in my fun fact, I've noticed a lot of times in my job, I say I can't read the characters, and they don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Chinese people, they're not familiar that we call their. They're not familiar that we call the Hanji characters.
Yeah, which is understandable.
But they just
But
it's called
to
Hanji.
put it for like relatability, Long Island iced tea. I can't remember what it is in Chinese. Literally translates to 4 words that say Long Island iced tea in Chinese. So when I say to you, 我会说普通话, that means I can speak Chinese. And I'll tell you the story. So I was speaking to these 2 guys, and there was a guy, and he just basically said to me, "Oh, I can't do." He's Welsh. He's like, I can't speak the language. There's too many tones. It's too difficult. And I was just like, it's really easy. It's a really simple language. And the other guy sitting next to him would both study Japanese. Japanese is way harder to speak. By the way, I'm just talking about speaking, because that's my goal. Is I just want to be able to speak. There's so many instances where you translate it in your head to Chinese, and it's the exact same grammar as it would be in English. And that's why I found it really easy.
Right.
The tones are something that people will say to you, you've said that tone wrong. Like B means like pen. B means like bitch.
Right. Also, the like in Japanese, the words are like very long. Like what is think? Okay, so I have it right here. What's the Daniel? You know the. So will you please say the full word for thank you in Japanese?
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah. So it's arigatou gozaimasu. In Chinese, it's like shishia.
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 Oh, and then
Shishia.
shishia.
Yeah.
Ni. Thank you.
Yeah. So it
actually translates to something different. But if I say to you, here you go, listen to that. 我要一个啤酒 literally translates to I want 1 bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Whereas in
say,
Japanese, it would be reversed. I don't know. I vaguely remember what it is, but it goes to bottle of beer I want, which is so difficult for us. And also, Japanese people don't use pronouns.
Well, yeah, even in Chinese, like he or she is ta.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah. Ta, and then they or them or
they
there
don't have,
is ta men.
So if
you
don't know any
like,
Chinese as well.
You have 2 words.
And they don't have tenses.
Yeah, you have 2 words for 7 or 8 words in English.
So they don't have tenses. So they don't have I played football. I was playing football. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so what Daniel's trying to say, for example, is if I said I played football in Chinese, he would have to ask me now, in the future, in the past. That's how they figure out the tense, is you ask questions. So if I say I play football, he has to say, oh, now or then, or back in the day, or when.
But yeah, basically my point is that speaking Chinese is so easy. If you want to go full into it and you want to do the HSK, which is your like proficiency in the language, you have to learn the characters, and that's why it's so hard, because there's no phonetics. You have to look at a character. It's not like you look at the letter A and go, A. You'd have to look at this character, and it has multiple meanings depending on where it is. That's why it's hard.
For example, like the area that we live in, it's called a shekou, which means snake mouth. So,
does it actually?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Kou, that word's in the pinyin, it's COU.
Oh, it's mouth.
The actual character is like it's kind of like a square.
Yeah.
So it means opening It means mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It means
Vagina.
entrance. It means vagina. It means exit. So, like, if I want to say Nanshan Metro Station, exit C, it's Siko. So that one word, ko, sheko, means like 8 things.
Yeah. Cool.
Sheko, Nanshan, DTN, Siko.
So I think it's
Okay, so my last question. Are you ready?
okay. I have 2 more questions after this. We'll
Okay,
go for it.
so here's my last question.
Actually, no, because I feel like we were vibing to that. So let's have our last question at the same time. So I'm going to ask you my question now.
Okay.
Do you think you're a good teacher?
No.
Why?
Maybe I am, but just from my feedback from my work,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I'm all right, and it's just the Chinese culture to push me to be better, but I don't feel like I am.
Why don't you think you're a good teacher for?
I'm new. I mean, I've only been teaching I've been here for 5 months, and first 2 weeks I was in training. I had 2 weeks off for the Chinese New Year. I had 10 days off for the coronavirus. I've been taught online for 3 weeks. Technically, I've only been teaching for 3 months.
That's crazy.
So-
But let's take people out of it. You with the kids, do you think they're learning from you?
Yeah, I think I need to practice more of like just conventional teaching methods.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to dive a little deeper into it. And I need some more practice. But like I was saying, like the past, what is it, certain this today, during the coronavirus and stuff. Today, during the coronavirus, it's been several months before I've seen the kids.
Mm.
The last time I seen a kid was somewhere before the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, which has been a while.
Yeah, and it's, getting on there now. So I think I've gotten better, but I need some kids. I need some practice.
Mm.
I need to, because I like the kids. I'd rather deal with the kids than my old job where I dealt with old people.
Yeah. No, I think teaching in general is learning from your mistakes and but like even the guy on my TEFL course said to me, he's been teaching for 20 years and he was like, I still have bad lessons. This is what makes you a good teacher, by the way. He said, as long as you leave the classroom and you understand that was a bad lesson and you think, what could have I done differently? And you try and change it next time, that's a good teacher. The teachers that just go in and go, I don't care, I'm just getting paid. And they just do whatever. And then they don't care.
Right.
For me, that's a bad teacher. To me, it sounds like you really care.
It sounds like a care, but also like living in China, I have so many other things in my mind.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I leave work, I'm thinking about this podcast. I'm thinking about girls. I'm thinking about sending money home. I'm thinking about paying my bills. I'm thinking about.
But just from when I asked you, you said, you're like, what's the word? Like, you're looking at yourself from the outside.
Yeah, I said no.
No, but you're like, you understand that you can do better.
Yeah.
It's not that you've gone in, because there's some expats teachers that go in and like, I'm the best teacher in the world. I'm perfect. There's nothing
Right.
that you can change about me.
Right.
I'm amazing. And I guarantee you that every teacher has pros and cons,
Right. Understood.
I'm not very good. I think I have good lessons and I have bad lessons. But I try and give it my best.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing you have to do. You have to just do everything your best.
Unless we're fucking hungover and we're just trying to get through the day.
14 shots of espresso later.
Yeah. All right, you got a question?
Okay,
The last
so
question.
My last question. It's going to be a pretty good question. It's going to divert a little bit away from China, which I think is fine. This has to do with Asia. So, if we were to both have to move tomorrow, but we already had jobs, and it has to be in Southeast Asia or Asia, and it can't be Japan, where are we going? So we have jobs.
In this country that we decide where we go.
Yeah, so a country that you want to teach at or would want to live at, we already have jobs, we already have accommodation, but it can't be China or Japan.
Oh.
And it's got to be in Asia or Southeast Asia. Can't be Russia either. No Russia, no Japan.
Yeah. So, how well paid are these jobs?
They're all the same. So for this theoretical question, they all get paid the same. So for this one,
Thailand.
Thailand? Okay.
Thailand is, if I was going to live somewhere, because the thing about Thailand is because it's so commercial, it's not fun to travel. Because when you're traveling, why do you travel? Because you want to see something new and you want to experience a different culture. But I'll be living there and I'll be teaching there. I think for me, this is like, I don't know, other people have different opinions. Just from my own experiences, Thai girls are like one of the fittest, probably the fittest for me, Southeast Asian girls. They are fit. And then everyone will do the jokes where it's like, oh, is that a fucking lady boy? And you're like, have you been? Dude, have you been to Thailand? The girls are phenomenal. They're so good looking. And then also, it's westernized. They have all the amenities that you would have in a Western society.
In terms of like restaurants or like living?
Both.
Okay.
But then it's also cheap and it's such a great place. It's honestly just an amazing place and everyone is so friendly. This is why sometimes I hate coming from the West, because you go into just pretty much anywhere in Asia and everyone's really friendly to you and you're like, mate, if you came to where I live in Reading and you were like, excuse me, can you help me? And we'll just be like, they'll probably be like, yeah. But if you're looking lost, it'd be very rare that would someone come up to you because we're so used to foreigners and no one would go. I try my best. If I look like someone's lost, I'll be like, do you want some help? Because I want to be that like, foreigners aren't bad.
Right.
You know, we're, in the West, we are really helpful.
I've said the same thing. I've said one thing that's made me really sad about living in China is that I know that they wouldn't be treated the same way they treated me.
Mm.
I just know for a fact. Like if they, you're a random Asian person in Alabama, and you ask somebody for help, they might tell you to fuck off.
But
they might not. You might find someone who's going to be.
But then if you're
nice.
if you're lost in Beijing, who's going to ask you for help? Which is actually, I've got a story about this. So one time I was waiting for my DD, so I was just looking at my phone, seeing where it was, and I'd been there for like 20 minutes. And this is again, it's probably proves your point. I was actually just standing there, and this guy just came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Are you lost? Do you need any help?" And I was like, "Oh no, I work here. I'm just waiting for a DD." And he's like, "Oh, okay. I was just seeing if you needed help," and just walked off. And I was like, "What a nice guy."
We actually, I was in Beijing for training, and somebody walked up and helped us out. Wow. He said, "You look lost," and we're like, "Yeah," and he helped us.
I think there is a little bit of like, because China's a homogenous country, so everyone's Chinese, whereas we come from a place where. So this is okay. I find this really interesting.
That's a good idea because where I live, it's 30, 40, 50% Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I saw this really good YouTube video, and this kind of sums up China in a sense of why foreigners are just so attractive to them. So he went up to a Chinese lady and said, "Perfect Chinese." He was just interviewing her. He was just like, "Oh, by the way, I'm Chinese." She was like, "You're not Chinese." He was a Caucasian guy. She was like, "You're not Chinese."
A white guy.
Yeah, and she was like, "Yeah, I've lived in China all my life. I was born in China. I've lived in China all my life." And he said, if you're a black person and you're born in America and you grow up in America all your life, you're American, right? She was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "So I've lived in China all my life. Am I Chinese?" And she went, "No.
Definitely not. No.
And it's not. I'm not like saying anything bad against that. I'm just saying that's the kind of ideology of China, and that's why foreigners will always be different because I think it's the Han.
They're foreigners.
The Han are like the 90% of China.
They're foreigners. Yeah, the Han Chinese.
The Han Chinese. So no matter what skin color you are, if you come over here, you're always going to be very foreign to them with your ideas and everything. But yeah, well, it makes us sad. It makes me sad that they're so friendly.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. If you think that's not true, try to get your citizenship here.
You
You
can't.
can't.
They're trying to make green cards though for
Yeah, the
foreigners.
best you can do is you can work here for 3 years. You can have a job that, quote unquote, helps Chinese society better themselves, and have a kid and get married. You might can get a green card,
I don't
which is
think you
called a
can.
permanent residence.
Yeah. But even as a foreigner, you can only buy. I think you can only purchase one property here
Yeah,
because it has to be your home. You can only
Yeah.
actually purchase one property. But okay,
Right.
so it's your last. It's your last. You do your last question.
no, that
do
was
mine.
it.
That was your last question.
Yeah,
Oh my
6
god!
questions.
I've had so much fun during this podcast that time has just flown.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, I
Okay,
had
so
6. That was my
okay.
extra question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready? You have to
Do
get
it.
ready. You don't
Let's
look
do it.
ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to read a list of words, and you have to give me 1 or 2 word answers to them. Just words. So if I say chicken, you can say
Good.
yummy.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to say good,
Okay.
it's quite a bland answer, but okay. Do you not like chicken?
Yeah, I like chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm from the South. Proud chicken.
Okay, so chicken,
Proud.
China,
Cool.
teaching,
So far.
America,
I like.
life,
Eh.
travel,
Great.
Chinese food,
Yummy.
expats,
Eh.
Shenzhen,
Cool.
Shanghai.
Need to go back.
That's a 3-word answer. You fail. Chinese driving,
Seems alright.
Corona.
Sucks.
Good. There. That's basically it. Yeah, that was basically.
No, that was really good. I
Yeah.
wish you expand it to like short sentence.
I like the one word, just the one word, because I think I think it's more fun. Like I said, so I think in the podcast, because hopefully we want more guests to come on. I actually probably who's ever going to listen to this, but hopefully they haven't
Yeah,
listened
no
to
one's
it.
ever gonna listen.
So then we
to
can
this,
just
but-
like give them the same bullet point questions, where we just ask them the same questions.
Right. So if you're listening to this, probably you're not, because probably this is going to be a test. So maybe some of my friends might listen to this, but
Yeah.
in the future we'll have the same. I like this idea. We'll have the same thing, but like imagine if it was fluent to where. So you say something. Name a bullet point. We're going to practice. Name a bullet point
Oh,
that you had on there.
England.
Food. Okay, let's pretend we're talking to a guest, right?
Okay, you ask me. You say these. You say these to me. Do it to me.
Okay.
I haven't actually thought. It's not like I've preempted these. I actually haven't preempted these, so you can just ask them to me.
Chicken.
Yummy.
Zhonghua.
Red.
Teaching.
Fun.
America.
Trump.
Life.
Good.
Traveling.
Love.
Chinese food. Expats in China.
Sexpats.
Shenzhen.
A word for Shenzhen. An experience.
Shanghai.
One.
Okay, that's pretty good. We can elaborate a little bit. Like a couple of these words that I would change my
Okay,
mind.
so you ask me the ones that you wanna.
Change my mind?
Well, do you have any that you want to give me?
No, but I was just gonna say when you said life, this is like, you know how when you're walking down the road and someone says something to you and you're just like, fuck you, and then you keep walking, but then like 3 days later you're like, I should have told him this. Right? You know, you're in an argument.
Okay, so all right.
But here's what I think about some of those questions.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go back in time, 2 minutes ago,
Okay, so
I
maybe
would have said this. You said life, I would have said existential crisis.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we can. So, fuck it. We're both just chilling. Maybe it's good that if you guys listen to this, whoever we send it to, you can give us some advice on what you think. If you've got it got this far, you're a fucking soldier, mate. You're a
Right.
soldier. But like we want you to listen, and we want you to be a part of this. So if you actually have any advice, we're gonna put this on some sort of format so you can kind of listen.
Correct.
So we're gonna do a little segment at the end of each one where hopefully, I don't know how long we're gonna do this for, but hopefully our Chinese is gonna get better. So hopefully we can give you a new phrase each week that you can use in China.
This week's Chinese phrase of the week. Damn it, I said week twice, and that's redundant.
So, Jagger, do you have a phrase that you know that you can use that would be helpful?
Helpful or just something I've learned that's interesting?
Both?
Okay, so Lao Ban,
I don't know what that is.
it means, okay, so also you have to excuse the pronunciation. We're not native speakers. Lao Ban,
I am.
boss.
Okay.
Boss.
Lao, say it again.
Lao Ban,
Lao Ban.
Laoban. Lao Ban,
Lao Ban.
yeah. Lao Ban or Lao Ben, yeah. Boss. So tomorrow when you come at your boss, Ni hao Lao Ban,
Mm-hmm.
Ni hao Lao Ban,
Oh, ni hao Lao Ban.
yeah.
Okay.
Shin
that's
Mao
cool.
Lao Ban.
Jesus. Okay. Calm down.
Also-
Gonna get us kicked out of this room.
I just. Okay, so right now, I wish we had this on camera because Daniel made the joke about kicking us out. Well, imagine if someone walked into my apartment and they just seen like my pink comforter. They seen a guy with an orange hat, Daniel, and we're just sitting here with these curtains
St.
closed.
Patrick's Day, dude. I'm wearing a orange hat, green jumper.
Okay,
It's
Okay.
I'm half Irish, by the way.
I don't have on anything green. Not even my undies.
I think you're looking
got
at your
them.
penis
Look.
then, being like,
Those are green.
no STIs in here, not yet.
Look, those are green.
Oh,
You can put them on shortly.
your boxes that are hanging up. Okay, mine is okay. Ni Panama. Ni Palama.
What's pow?
Pa. It basically just goes, you're scared of me. So, guys, if you are ever traveling through China and you're playing pool with a Chinese person and they're giving you shit, do it like, when you say it, like, knock your head back and be like, Ni Panama. And look
Ni
at them.
Panama.
Look at them in disgust.
Ni
Like,
Panama.
in a funny way. And just be like, Ni Panama. And they will honestly laugh. I think that. As long as you don't do it, like, at a shop. If someone's serving you, you'd be like, Ni Panama. And they're like, Jesus, I'm just trying to serve her, just trying to get on with my life.
Oh
But,
my
yeah.
god.
So how do you think this went?
I think it went okay.
Yeah, I think for our
Yeah.
first podcast,
Yeah.
I think we've done good. So I don't know if you want to give your Instagram or anything you want to, like,
Yeah,
social
follow
media.
me. It's at I got the moves like Jagger with a dot between them.
Is that actually your...
Yeah, it did. So Instagram, I got the moves like Jagger as a dot between each word. Go follow me. You can find us on YouTube, Two Guys One China. You can find us on the podcast app, Two Guys One China, and you can find us on Spotify, Two Guys One China.
my Instagram is at Brobot Kid, which is BROBOT kids. You probably spell that. He's probably not a fucking idiot. But anyway, yeah, so that was the podcast. Next week we're gonna do a different format because we were just trying to get used to speaking. So next week we'll probably have a free topic and we're just gonna speak openly and we're probably just gonna talk loads of shit. So see you
Good way.
then.
Bye bye.
再见。
再见，拜拜。